Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. Busy time around the NBA. Yesterday, we had a bunch of trade rumors to get into. Today, some more trade-related stuff that we're going to talk about, as well as a few news updates. Make sure you do subscribe to the channel. Speaking of subscribers, yes, we did hit 35,000. Yesterday's show really took not a surprise. Yesterday's show took off. It was all about trades. Keith, we've got people asking apparently though in the comments section about whether or not we're wearing costumes, because it was if we hit it by Halloween. We are way past Halloween. It was if we hit it by Halloween.
Month and a half.
We were gonna dress up for Halloween. I think we still committed to we're gonna dress up for Christmas though, right? Although I guess you're gonna be on a cruise ship. What are we gonna do?
We're just gonna have to do it before I go. Hey, like
okay.
we'll probably maybe the front office Friday before that. We'll do it. So not this Friday, but the one after that. So the 19th, I think that is, or 20th.
Okay.
Maybe the 20th. We'll do it then. Because I leave the next morning. So yeah, I have a shirt too. I already have but that's all I'm gonna say. I'm not saying anything else.
Don't spoil it. We won't spoil the surprise. We'll Christmas it up. Maybe not. I'll find it'll be a different background, but we'll Christmas things up and we'll do it. But thank you everybody for helping us hit 35,000. Yeah. We're very excited to be there, of course, and excited to have you all here. So that is, of course, my shameless plug as well. If you are not among those 35,000, and right now you're watching this video, hit the subscribe button so you become part of the Front Office Show movement here.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, we're happy to continue the solid, steady growth, but like this is our time to shine, right? Where trade season is starting up here, where we're going to be having regular episodes breaking down all the latest rumors and all that stuff, and then we'll get into all the when actual trades start happening, we'll start breaking those down too. And I had a piece post just the other day on Spot Track. When early trade season opens, the last 6 seasons, we've had a trade within 1 month of the December 15th, like unofficial opening to trade season. So hopefully we'll have another early trade going on there again. So we'll see.
I need trades. Let's go. I can't wait for trade season. All right. Let's start here. The Golden State Warriors, we know they're interested in upgrading their roster. They want to make another run with Steph and Draymond. They are interested, reportedly, in LeBron James and Jimmy Butler. Now, Jimmy Butler, we talked a little bit about that. The Miami Heat are reportedly, as of yesterday, we talked about this, that they are listening to offers and essentially ready to make a deal if the right offer comes along. Now, trying to make the math work on a Jimmy Butler to Golden State trade can be tricky, but of course, teams get creative. Maybe it's a 3-team trade, something like that. Keith, what do you think about these targets, though? LeBron James, we know they checked in on him last year at the trade deadline. He said at that point he didn't want to trade. Jimmy Butler appears to be pretty available out there on the market. Both older players. Is this the right path for Golden State?
Yeah, it's hard to say it isn't, because you want to get the absolute most you can out of the Stephen Curry era. And Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, if you want to add him into it too. And we're obviously getting close to the end. I'm not saying like this year or anything, but it's, sometime within the next 2-3 years. Like I feel pretty confident in that. And you want to make the most of it. And you've got a pretty good team right now, but they have been very open that they know they're lacking another offensive kind of initiator, creator outside of Curry. They really don't have another guy who does that. The next best passer on the team is Draymond Green. That's not really a huge knock because he's a very good passer. But you're kind of stuck a little bit. It's they have to run a lot of stuff that is more scheme based when Curry's off the floor. And whenever I say that, I had somebody ask, like, what does that mean? I don't really get that. Then what that means is it's like you're running set stuff. Like you're coming out and calling a lot of plays. You're not just free flowing and reacting. NBA teams are generally now more concept based. Like Boston is a great example of this. It's the concept is a lot of spacing, drive and kick, a lot of pick and rolls where you get downhill, find a shooter, move the ball. There's not a lot of sets threes to what they do. Yeah, take a billion threes. Yeah. And there's just not a lot of sets in there where it is, I'm going to call this guy up and then we're going to run this, and off ball, we're going to run these things. The Warriors have to go to that. A great example, if anybody watched Orlando-Milwaukee last night, Orlando had to scheme a ton of their baskets because they don't have anybody who can do anything with the ball in his hands right now other than Jalen Suggs. So for the Warriors, they're trying to get to a point where they can add somebody else. That's why it's LeBron, why it's Jimmy Butler, another guy that you can say they'll fit great with Steph, because Steph is, I've continued to believe, the most plug and play player in the history of the game, where it is just he can fit with anyone, with all the things he can do. And then you just kind of get another guy in there. So it makes sense to me. I get why some Warriors fans get a little anxious, because they're like, we're going to throw away the future, trying to really make something out of this. But if you can make another finals run, like, I would say that's all worth it.
Oh, sure. I mean, if you can get it, look, if you get a title, it's worth it. Right. But there's no way to guarantee that. But you can give yourself a better shot at it. I do think Jimmy Butler is one that makes some sense for them. Just if you can find a way to make it work. Again, the big question is, because if I'm Miami, I'm absolutely asking for Jonathan Kuminga. Are you willing to part with him if you're the Warriors? I think that's where we need to see how the next month or whatever of the season plays out, and get a sense of what is Jonathan Kuminga. What do the Warriors think he is? What do they think he's going to be? Yep. And then they can make their decision accordingly. But remember, even if it's not Jimmy Butler, even if it's not LeBron James, who we'll talk about in just a minute, they do have that big-ish, right, expiring contract of DeAnthony Melton, unfortunately lost for the year due to injury. But that contract is very much in play. And even if it's not a big LeBron, Butler, whoever else move, I have a hard time imagining the trade deadline comes and goes without the Warriors doing something. They're so motivated. They tried to get Markkanen. They tried to get Paul George over the summer. This is a team that's very motivated to make a move. I think something happens with this team, even if it's not LeBron or Jimmy Butler.
Completely agree. At this time of year, you and I end up doing a lot of radio appearances around the country. And one of the things I always ask is, like, who's definitely getting traded? And I cheat every time, because I'm like, DeAnthony Melton. Like, he's the number one guy who's going to get traded. And a lot of people are like, wait, I don't know, like, who is that? What team is he on? Where is he? But I think just the nature of, it's an expiring contract, $12.8 million. The Warriors can always sign him again in free agency next summer, because he won't be confined to the restriction of, well, if he gets traded, you can't reacquire him. They would be able to, because his contract expires. So that's like the Ricky Rubio situation with the Cavs and Pacers from a couple years back. So I think there's a very good chance we see Melton get moved here. Maybe it's a smaller move and it's not super duper exciting, but if they're going to do something big, my guess is he's part of a big trade package as well. Also important to remember, Warriors, very little room under the first apron where they are hard capped, but because they're hard capped at the first apron, they don't face any of the second apron restrictions. So they can combine players in trades. They can do a whole bunch of things that, like, for example, Boston or Phoenix or Milwaukee can't do right now. Even things the Lakers have a little bit of trouble with, because they're so tight to where the second apron is. They're only 30,000 or so underneath it. So yeah, definitely some stuff to work with there for Golden State. But yeah, I get why they're interested in big names. Let's touch on a couple other Warriors things just very quickly.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Jonathan Kuminga part. This all came out of Brian Windhorst doing one of these deals on Get Up this morning, where he's kind of doing the finger thing a little bit, or yesterday, whenever it was. But he was doing his thing there, and he's like, why are the Warriors all of a sudden, let's start Jonathan Kuminga, let's showcase him? I'm not going to say it's all trade related, because I think there's a chance they were like, we're going on a little slide here and we're struggling to score. Let's get somebody in there who can do some stuff scoring wise. I think that was at least as much as showcasing him, probably even more. But there's a little bit of something to that in that situation. So I'm not going to completely ignore it. And then the other part is, again, related to the Jonathan Kuminga part of it all, is they are expected to really decide over this next couple months, is this guy part of our future? And if he is, we're going to keep him. If he's not, we're going to trade him. And it sounds like it's kind of hey, we're either going to re-sign this guy no matter what in free agency, or we're going to move on from him and go in a different direction. So that's, and if you're looking for LeBron or Jimmy Butler or anybody of that stature, Jonathan Kuminga is going to have to be involved in the trade.
All right. Speaking of LeBron, Brian Windhorst saying that LeBron is still committed to the Lakers. He keeps going back to LeBron's actions of this past, 7, 8, 9 months, whatever it's been. At the trade deadline this past year, LeBron was the Warriors contacted the Lakers and said, "What do you think about a LeBron trade?" They said, "Ask LeBron." They asked LeBron, and LeBron said, "No, I don't want to be traded." Then LeBron re-signed his deal or signed a new deal with the Lakers this summer, had an opportunity to leave, decided not to. So Windhorst saying LeBron's actions essentially say that he is staying with the Lakers, and then also adding in that LeBron not only wants to stay, but he wants the team to upgrade, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, which makes sense. They're a bottom 5 NBA defense right now. So that right now LeBron is committed to the Lakers, but he also noted that, it is nearly 2 months until the trade deadline. It's something could change between now and then. And I like that, Wendy mentioned, like, if something changes there, we will know. It will be made public. It will get out. We will know if LeBron James wants to be traded. But as of right now, he does not. And we know the only way that LeBron is traded is if he goes to the Lakers and says, "Please trade me." They are simply not trading him otherwise.
Yeah, and in reality, they can't. As we talked about the other day, if the Lakers are like, "Hey, we want to send LeBron to Houston for all their kids," LeBron's like, "I don't want to go to Houston." He just exercises a no trade clause. He has he's one of 2 players, him and Bradley Beal. Yes, Bradley Beal's is still intact, even when he got traded to the Suns. He still has that veto power. They're the only 2 players with negotiated no trade clauses in the entire NBA. Part of that is it's really hard to get one. You have to be on a completely new contract to get one. So that means the guy actually has to get to free agency, and you have to have at least but you have to have a bunch of time with the team that you're with and been in the league long enough to get one too. So it takes a while. You have to have some equity within the team built up, as well as signing a new deal. Can't be an extension. So if LeBron wants traded, 100% we'll all know. When I wrote about the Lakers as a potential early mover, because we did see them move kind of early-ish in the past. The Hachimura trade was not a deadline day deal. That happened a couple weeks out from January. The deadline.
Yeah.
Part of why I wrote is I feel like we are another couple losses or just not great games away from LeBron at the very minimum sending one of his very thinly veiled messages of, "I'm not happy. Let's make a trade." Yeah. Right. And that's not me taking shots at him or the Lakers. It's something he's done with the Cavs. I mean, he even had a couple times with the Heat, made comments. And it's now I feel I had some clever wordplay because I was like, I think him and Anthony Davis at this point are very frustrated with transaction and action in Los Angeles. Exactly
transaction and action. I like it.
Yeah. We've had like nothing happen for, basically a whole window now. So it's we'll see. But I think I would say 10% chance he's not a Laker, and that even feels too high. I'd say like 5 is probably more realistic.
Yeah, he does seem to be pretty determined to stay. They absolutely need defensive pieces. Again, we talked about it yesterday. I wouldn't expect a big return if LeBron does get traded because of his age, because of the whole and because of the no trade clause. Studio Stu was purring into the mic a few moments ago. So if anybody heard that random sound, that was not me. That was the cat. But this is a situation where the Lakers, they're going to need to try to find moves. But the problem is everybody knows they need to make a move. So teams are going to ask for a ton in return for any type of asset, even if it's just a marginal player. Teams are going to be asking for a lot from the Lakers. So we'll see how they navigate this situation. But LeBron James, for the time being, would like to stick with the Lakers, wants to stay. It would take him asking out, and part of that is the no trade clause. But, I think no trade clause, the Bradley Beal situation is very much a cautionary tale of why no trade clauses should not be given out. With the LeBron situation, it's a little bit different because I think the Lakers were like, we don't care if we give him a no trade clause or not, because we're not trading him unless he asks for a trade anyway. So I think in that situation, but in general, I think no trade clauses are probably, there's only 2 of them right now in the NBA that are not kind of the de facto no trade clauses. There's only 2 real ones. And just given the way things went with Bradley Beal, I don't think we see a lot more of them. But LeBron does have one, and that would obviously be a factor if he does say, I want out.
Yeah, that no trade clause was strictly a CYA thing with LeBron and Clutch. Let's make sure we're covered just in case. And there might have been part of, I can get one, so I want it. Right,
sure.
I
just for
I
the
can
status,
get one,
right?
so give it to me, right? Yeah, I'm already leaving money on the table. Give me this at least, and that's fine. To your point, it doesn't really matter. It would be absolutely something I would root for solely because of the absolute chaos it would cause if it was like the Lakers had a deal lined up and he vetoed it, because that would turn into, oh my God, they were going to actually deal him, and then he said no, we'd get 15 shows out of it. And then on Lakers Nation, you could wipe out the rest of your calendar. You could, program the rest of the year off of that. It just, it'd be absolute madness. But yeah, in reality, it doesn't really matter. But I do think we're less than a week away from the, week or 2. I'll say maybe we get through Christmas before we get the, hey, let's get something going here. I want some help. Let's go.
Well, he's off social media right now, so maybe he breaks that that drought here and just tweets out a cryptic emoji at some point.
I don't what would be like a trade. I don't know, maybe just like 2 arrows, the coming and going arrows or something like that'd be interesting.
Just a plane, something like, I don't know,
the eyes emoji.
The eyes emoji in a plane or something.
Yeah, imagine that. And then he's like,
oh my God,
just flying off to our next game or whatever. I don't know.
Twitter. If LeBron tweets out eyeballs and a plane emoji, Twitter immediately breaks. It would crush. Everybody would be going crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go here. Scotty Barnes out with an ankle injury. I mean, not like Brandon Ingram ankle injury where you're like, hey, this guy's out for the foreseeable future. Scotty Barnes sounds like it's going to be a few weeks. The Raptors, we know what the story is this season. We know what they're looking for, but still not ideal that you're going to be without Scotty Barnes now for a couple of weeks. Though, if they lose a few games that maybe they wouldn't have otherwise, maybe that's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, that was something I tweeted, that this is kind of a, maybe a silver linings for the Raptors are, one, no chance now he'll make All-NBA. Wasn't going to anyway. Highly unlikely just with the Raptors' place in the standings. So I think that's last year's standings.
Is it?
Somehow. That's weird. Yeah. Yeah. Look, I mean, I like the way it looks. You can leave it like that.
Oh, you know why? You know why? I was just looking. I was doing something on over-unders, and the Lakers line was at 43.5 wins. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure they had, and I kept going back. Was it 46 wins last season or 47? And so I pulled that up. That's why. But regardless, hey, this helps them, actually. They're down lower in the standings when you switch to this year.
That's it, right? So one, Barnes doesn't make All-NBA. That'll keep him on the 25% of the cap max. He won't jump up with that. And the reason he won't make it probably wasn't going to anyway. But now he won't meet the games played qualifiers for it. Then second is, just pushes them. I mean, it's hard to get much lower in the standings, but this probably, I would say, keeps them behind Charlotte, Detroit, Chicago. Philly looks like they're finally figuring out and moving up. And then you got a handful of teams, Portland, Utah, New Orleans. Like, they're going to be down now in the mix, I would say, for a top 5 pick. And that's huge in an absolutely loaded draft. Yeah.
I mean, if you walk away with the top 5 pick, they'll be pretty happy with that.
Yep.
All right, let's jump over to Houston, who, I mean, it's nothing new, but they keep popping up in rumors as a team that could be a buyer. Right? They keep getting connected to like Jimmy Butler, and every chance they get, the Rockets are just shouting from the mountaintops that we're not making a big trade. We like our group, and I guess we just have to keep saying the same thing. They should be saying this regardless of whether or not it's true. I still have a hard time imagining that if a star level player is just out there, Giannis or something like that, not that he's really available, but that they would just be like, no, we're not, we're good. We're not. It's like, Keith, it's like if a woman says that she's just not ready to date right now.
Okay.
What? She's not ready to date right now? That's not really true. She's not ready to date you right now.
Yeah.
Because if the right guy comes along, I'll tell you what, that will change. Same thing with the Rockets. The Rockets might be saying, no. We're totally fine with our core as is, right? We're totally fine with this group and we want to grow, we want to develop, and we're good. We're focusing on us right now, right? I'm just focusing on me. That's what the Rockets are saying. But the right player comes along and this will change.
Yeah, it's starting to get a very almost uncomfortable. Now I get this was Rafael Stone was on NBA radio on Sirius XM. This is where they asked him. They're like, "Oh, what's going on?" He's like, "I said it before. I'll say it again." And he repeated all the same stuff. Now, what I thought was interesting, he added a little more context to. We want to see where we're at through this season, which tells me they feel pretty good about their chance to make the playoffs, and they should. Yeah. And the playoffs tend to reveal all, right? That's going to tell them this is what you're missing, right? We think we know sometimes what a team needs, but the playoffs really do end up kind of telling you the story, and they'll find out, all right, we need more shooting, we need more creation, we need more interior defense. I'm making up a whole bunch of things that generally pop out in the postseason, and they'll figure that out, and then they'll go figure out, all right, now how do we address this, right? Do we go make a trade for a star? Do we go target a specific guy that can fill a need that we have, like Isaiah Hartenstein with the Thunder last summer, right? Let's go get him because we need interior defense and rebounding. He's there. We're going to make it happen. Though I've said it a million times, Houston could get to 40 plus million in expiring salary without touching one of their core young rotation guys. Awesome, right? You're in a place where you can do all kinds of stuff up to the trade deadline. I don't know that they do or don't, but to your point, if the right star finds their way on the market, and what if Miami's like, hey, Houston, we're actually not getting the killer offers we want. The best thing we can do is let's reset our own cap sheet a little. We want some of that expiring money and throw us one kid or one of the draft picks you have or something like that, because that's the best we can do. Well, that might change their minds, right? Then they might be like, okay, now it's there. So
that's worth the price.
Yeah, I fully believe them. And I've seen this noted by a couple people. Dan Feldman was one of the ones who noted it like a week or so ago when this came out. This may also be a negotiating ploy where it is, hey, no, we're not doing anything, because that's a way of saying, hey, we do something, you're gonna have to pay us a lot to get us to do it, right? We're not, or we're not giving up a ton to go get somebody because we like what we have.
The cat has decided he wants to be the star of the show today. That's it exactly. This could, like I said, even if in their heart of hearts the Rockets are thinking, oh my God, wouldn't it be great to get a star right now and really go on a run? This should still be what they're saying. This should still be what they're putting out there, because you know what? If you come out there and say, oh, we're going to make a big trade, guess what happens to any trade negotiation that you're in? The price goes way up. So they should be saying this. I don't think they're necessarily lying. I just think if the right deal comes along, they will still be open to it, despite saying, because what's the worst, even if that comes along and people say, well, what happened to not making big moves with the kids? Well, the right deal came along and we got this guy. Are you really going to complain? No. So, we get to February 6th at the end of the day, and they've got, I don't know, somehow the Suns are like, we just got to move Kevin Durant because he doesn't want to be here. Like, all right, then are you going to complain about it? Yeah, probably not. And right now saying, hey, we don't need to do anything, not wrong. They're looking, we've got the standings up right here, third in the West, playing really well, right in the mix. And I think we all kind of think, all right, Denver will eventually turn this around. I'm starting to believe that a little less each time I watch them not do it. And that loss to the Wizards, and I get they sat out guys, but I don't know, man. You can't be losing to the Wizards. Like, that's pretty bad. So,
Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, with the Rockets, but I fully get why they're like, yeah, we don't need to rush in anything. We're pretty good.
It's the benefit of playing well is that you can legitimately make the. I mean, unlike the Lakers, right, where like or a number of other teams, you call up. Right, Rob Pelinka calls up somebody. It says, hey, let's talk trade. Oh yeah, you guys need to talk trade. Whereas the Rockets go, nah, we don't really, we don't really want to make a deal right now. I don't know. I mean, I guess if you twist our arm and really give us a great deal, and they can legitimately make the case, like, no, we're fine where we currently sit. So
yeah, no one in the organization, from the coaches and the players, and even the front office, at least in the general sense, is like, hey, if we're just in the playoffs, we're fine. Like, that's great. Like, yeah, right now it is, hey, let's try to run down Memphis for the 2. And let's see if we can push Oklahoma City for that top spot. Of the immediate focus is, let's see if we can go out and win the NBA Cup, right? Let's try to get that done. But I think what's really interesting with this is, but you can have then that bigger picture of, but we are okay if we just make the playoffs, right? Like, it's like, let's compete for all these other things, but we just make it in. Like, that's great step forward here for us. Like, that's generally how it goes, right? It is, you step up, you compete deep into the season, which they did last year. Then you make the postseason. That tells you kind of what you need, and then you start making your moves to make more sustained runs.
Keith, speaking of the Thunder, boy, did they look good last night against the Mavs, didn't they?
Yeah, they're really good.
That defense running down the Thunder for the Rockets, it will be tough. That is a very good team.
Yeah, I thought the Thunder's game plan of blitzing Luka almost every time he got it in pick and roll was incredible for them, and that's something again you see in NBA Cup games. These teams, they had a couple of days off, so they did game plan a little bit more, which you don't generally see in a standard regular season game. And I thought there were times it felt like there were 6 guys on the floor for Oklahoma City because they were blitzing them.
So fast.
But they're so fast, so long, so strong too, that like you can put Lou Dort against Daniel Gafford and be like, hey, just hold up for long enough for the next rotation to come, and we'll get there. I mean, you can't blitz Luka like that over and over and over again. Like, I don't know that works in a 7-game series because he's gonna solve it. Like, he's too good. And Jason Kidd would have counters to it. He'd have Kyrie stationed a little closer. You'd have, things you could do off of that. But for one game, it worked absolutely perfectly. I mean, Luka took 15 shots. That's such a low number for him because they just kept chasing the ball out of his hands.
Well, and the thing is that they were doing was, and we've talked about this play before. In fact, we even did, it was a few weeks ago, but we brought this up. We showed a clip of it, but essentially, when you're doubling the ball the way that the Thunder were, you're accepting that you're one pass out of being in a 4-on-3 situation. And the Thunder were saying that's fine. And like you said, it looked like there was an extra player out there because even in a 4-on-3, they still had everybody covered. I was blown away by how many times it was a 4-on-3 because Luka passed out of the double. And the best the Mavs were able to get was still a tough contested shot. They're just so good defensively.
Yeah, they're really scary. And that's without Chet too, who's like just an absolute game plan wrecker on the defensive end because he's so big and so quick. Like, they're tough, man. They're going to be really, really tough. I mean, they're 19-5, so let's not act like we just discovered this. Like, everybody knows they're good, but like last night was a really great showcase. Hey, while we're on it, shout out to Orlando for even being in that game with Milwaukee. I mean, they were right there with them, really challenging them, really making them work. I loved they were down 3 and they called it magic. Ran a down 3. Bucks are a very heavy follow up 3 team. Like, they're going to follow you. So they ran Jalen Suggs. Like, the inbounder was right in front of the bench. Jalen Suggs started and he looped the entire court, but he did it at full speed. So the Bucks weren't able to catch him. And by the time he came off the last screen, he was open and got off a clean look. He just didn't have the legs to put it down. He was so tired. He had done so much at that point.
He was great.
But I mean, talk about a really good play call to beat when you knew they were going to follow you. Like they knew, all right, they're going to foul. They're going to make us go to the line, and we're not going to have a great chance of tying it. They got as good of a look as you can get in that situation. So, and shout out to the Bucks, man. Starting you, I called it out on social media. I called it out in the basketball bulletin. I did a much deeper breakdown of the two games from last night than I usually do, with more clips and more thoughts, just because there was only the two games. But I called out starting to run Dame Giannis stuff a little bit more. Where it's still not being run is late in games, late in close games. And I think that's just a comfort thing. They haven't done it enough. So those guys default to, this is what I know. This is, where I'm comfortable with. But Chris Middleton back really helps. Didn't score yesterday, but he had 8 assists, really moving the ball, keeping it going, created a lot of good looks for Milwaukee. So just good stuff for the Bucks. They're starting to look a lot better than they did earlier in the year.
Yeah, that's for sure. And again, credit to Orlando Magic. No Paulo Banchero, no Franz Wagner, and they were right there. They were right there in that thing. And boy, they played hard. All right, let's jump over here. Kawhi Leonard returning. Maybe. I mean, you got to see how he's ramping up in practice right now. Will be interesting to see how he integrates into this Clippers team that has really found something defensively. They've been excellent on that side of the ball. And obviously Kawhi, a good defensive player, but defense, it's always so much about connectivity in addition to individual defensive talent. So how Kawhi fits into the mix will be interesting to watch. But just a good player getting healthier is obviously a positive. At the same time, Keith, I'm always with Kawhi at this. I think it's going to be forever. For however much longer Kawhi Leonard plays, we're always going to feel like we're kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. So I just hope that if he can get back, he gets right, and he's back, and it's not kind of the back, and then, oh, wait, now a couple weeks later, we've got knee swelling, and all right, we're down again.
Yeah, him and Joel Embiid are in the same camp for me now, where it is when they play, get everything out of them you can, because they may then be gone for a week after that, and it might be a while before we see them again. I think they're just it's just where we're at. It's really unfortunate because these are two really all timers, and just we're never gonna find out really how great they could have been, because they're just never gonna be healthy enough for us to find out. But yeah, I mean, for the Clippers, they played well. They again well coached. They play really hard. I shouted out Amir Coffey. What I did on the basketball bulletin was I did the most underrated player for every team. I went through all 30 teams, and what I really tried to call out was like, yeah, if you're a fan of the LA Clippers, you probably know Amir Coffey's been playing pretty well.
Sure.
But if you're not watching the Clippers day in, day out, you probably haven't really caught on to that yet. So that's what I tried to do, was call out some guys who just deserve a little bit more love nationally. And Amir Coffey's been really good for them, but they're hanging in there. James, this is one of the best versions of James Harden I can remember, because he's just really doing kind of everything it takes. And there's not all the nonsense foul baiting and dribbling 20 seconds of every possession before shooting a step back. Like, he's just playing basketball and playing really well. Norman Powell's been awesome. Vica Zubac is terrific. I mean, bench is good. Like you said, Ty Lue's really got them coached up. Jeff Van Gundy, you can see, is kind of really, I think if we found out, was really running their defense and really kind of got them running some good stuff there. They're a fun watch right now.
I think when you say this is the best, version, I think this is the most enjoyable version of James Harden that we've had.
Probably a better way to put it.
Yeah. It's not, because I'll tell you what, Keith, there was the highest impact version of James Harden was almost unwatchable. I mean, he was great.
Yeah.
But frankly, and look, I pull no punches when it comes to this stuff. I thought that he was embarrassing for the NBA. I thought the same thing of Trae Young. When the rest of the world is watching NBA basketball and you were seeing the stuff that they were doing, grabbing defenders' arms to throw your arms under them and that kind of junk. I'm so glad the NBA did what they could to eventually legislate that out of the NBA. And James Harden doesn't have to. He's more effective, obviously, when he does that kind of stuff. It's shameless, but they were good at it. And now I think we're getting, again, while it's not, maybe he's not as impactful as he was when he got to just kind of hurl himself into whoever he wants and get a whistle. It's a much more enjoyable watch, and you just feel it felt gross watching those guys during that era, because you knew what was going on, you knew it wasn't right, you knew it shouldn't be happening, and that it needed to be taken care of. But now you're getting to see more of just really how, and be able to appreciate how skilled he is without just feeling gross watching what you were seeing.
And it's great for him that at this age, this diminished physical version, he can still be a really great player. Like we're nowhere near talking all-stars yet. So when I say this, like I don't maybe like, hey, remember back on December 11th when you said James Harden was an all-star? But right now he'd be pretty close to an all-star. Like I'd have to really get in and break down all-star picks in the conference, but kind of close. Like, I mean, he's carried that team because Norman Powell, as good as he's been, he's missed some time. And Harden just kind of keeps them chugging along. Like I'm glad you used the terminology you did because far more enjoyable. Better's probably not the right terminology. More enjoyable, definitely the right way to go.
All right, let's finish up with this, Keith. I know you are into your NBA draft deep dives and getting ready. Obviously, this is not going to be an NBA draft pick here this year, but you're pretty excited about this prospect.
Yeah, so AJ DeBonsa, this kid is from Massachusetts. He grew up like 2 towns over from me. He's been playing at a prep school. He committed to BYU. And normally we don't do a lot of like, high school to college stuff.
Right.
We're going to focus on college and NBA. The only reason I wanted to mention it is this is huge. He's right now the favorite to be the number 1 pick in the 2026 NBA draft. And the fact that he's going to BYU and this kid, everybody wanted this kid, is huge. In these things, I immediately reached out to a bunch of friends of mine that are in college basketball. And they were like, yeah, we're going to start seeing more and more of this where the NIL money is so big for these kids from some of these schools. In BYU, yes, they have a good football team program that's been historically good, but they have been pretty good at basketball a lot of years too. They've got a pretty deep donor base that is pumping money in NIL. And apparently, the rumors are 6 to 10 million next year is what he's going to get to play 1 year at BYU before he heads off to the draft. So just wanted to mention it because it is a little like top prospect goes to BYU. Not that BYU's bad or anything, but like this is not Kentucky or UConn or Indiana or any of the power conferences, that power schools that are out there. Like it is pretty incredible that he is headed to BYU. So just something to keep an eye on. It's him and the other kid. You'll recognize this. Cam Boozer, Carlos Boozer's son.
That's right.
Is the other big prospect in 2026. So that's the other big name that we'll be watching in a year from now. But and I know I've mentioned this a couple of times. I just have not had a chance to get to it before I go on vacation on the 21st. I will have an updated big board out on the basketball bulletin with a bunch of stuff in there. I'm working on it. I've been working through it. Been making a lot of adjustments. I've been watching a ton of college games. I've got a couple more that I'm going to, when we finish up, that's what I'm going to do tonight before the NBA Cup games start, is get into a couple games from last night and earlier in the week because there were a few good games I haven't had a chance to watch. So I promise if you're a subscriber over there, you're going to get more draft content coming. I'm trying to slide you a little bit of my notes pieces in between with draft stuff. But a big board update will come within the next 10 days before I leave on vacation.
Exciting stuff. And I'll drop a link to the basketball bulletin, the Substack, as well as the YouTube channel in the description here. Right, what's that?
Both are growing like crazy. Yeah. The YouTube channel for basketball bulletin, the Substack's growing. Our channel where, people want Halloween costumes. Let's go.
Let's go.
Christmas. This is the season. Let's
That's
grow.
Right.
Let's go, baby.
Yeah, we just passed 11,000 subscribers over on the Basketball Bulletin YouTube channel. So guys, go check that out. And of course, check out the Substack. Keith's got great stuff coming out there. Pretty much every single day. You've got awesome stuff.
Trying.
At some point, I'm going to post that article every day, Keith, right now. I told you earlier before we went on the show, it's like Shams dropped that trade piece yesterday, and I'm like, there you go. That's my whole day. My day is gone. It's crazy, but we love it. We certainly love it, and we appreciate all of you joining us for the ride.
Questions too when people have been asking, like, how are you able to watch this many games and do all this stuff? I will either sit down and write it, or we can devote when it really slows down. We have a slow day for a show. I'll run people through. Like I am the number one thing is I'm extremely intentional with my time. I schedule in goof off time which might be like, go play a video game, read a book, like I love chef reactions, like watch chef reaction videos.
Sure.
On over on social media. Like I love that stuff. So like, but I actually have to schedule that time, and I try to stick to that schedule. But people ask all the time, like, how are you able to do that? I can break it down for people if they're actually interested. Let us know.
It's a lot of time management. That's for sure.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Well, we do appreciate you joining the show. Make sure you subscribe on the YouTube channel and then over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Give us that 5-star rating and review. Thanks again, everybody. Till next time. Keith, I'm losing track of what day it is. Is tomorrow Front Office Friday?
No, today's Wednesday. I was thinking about it a little bit too. I was like, why jump in?
Is today Thursday?
No, today's Wednesday.
Time has no meaning. Thank you,
everybody. The end of this show, Philip.
Till next time. See you. Stay safe.